The distress signal came through at 0300 hours, when half the crew of the Steadfast was asleep. Sergeant Tae-Wan Park was not asleep. He sat in the medical bay cleaning his equipment for the third time that night. Sleep had become difficult. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of soldiers he could not save. Captain Yunbi Choi's voice came through the ship's speakers. "Medical team to the bridge. We have a situation." Tae-Wan put down his tools and walked through the narrow corridors of the ship. The Steadfast was old, a warship that had seen too many battles. Rust crept along the walls. The lights flickered. But she still flew, and that was enough. On the bridge, Captain Choi stood before a holographic display. The image showed a small moon, gray and lifeless. On its surface, a ship had crashed. The ship was beautiful, even in destruction. It was not made of metal like human ships. It looked organic, like it had been grown rather than built. Curves and spirals covered its surface. It glowed faintly, even now. "Velanthi," said Ji-ho, Tae-Wan's friend and squad member. He stood with his arms crossed, his face hard. "That's a Velanthi ship." Tae-Wan had never seen a Velanthi ship before. The Velanthi were an ancient species, far older than humanity. They had technology that humans could only dream of. They had power that could end the war against the Keth in a single day. But they did nothing. They watched from their distant worlds as humanity bled and died. They called humans too young, too violent, too primitive to be worth their attention. "The distress signal is automated," Captain Choi said. "There may be survivors." "So what?" Ji-ho said. "The Velanthi have never helped us. Why should we help them?" Captain Choi looked at Tae-Wan. "Sergeant? You're my medical officer. What do you think?" Tae-Wan looked at the crashed ship on the display. He thought about the war. He thought about the Keth, with their black ships and their hunger for conquest. He thought about all the colonies that had fallen, all the people who had died screaming while the Velanthi did nothing. Then he thought about the distress signal. Someone down there was hurt. Someone down there was asking for help. "I think we should go," Tae-Wan said. Ji-ho made a sound of disgust. "You're too soft, Tae-Wan. It's going to get you killed." "Maybe," Tae-Wan said. "But I'm still going." Captain Choi nodded. "Take a squad. Be careful. We don't know what's down there." The shuttle landed on the gray moon 20 minutes later. Tae-Wan stepped out first, his medical bag over his shoulder. Behind him came Ji-ho and 3 other soldiers. The air was thin and cold. The sky was black, filled with unfamiliar stars. The crashed ship lay in a crater of its own making. Up close, it was even more beautiful. The hull shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and change. But there was a great wound in its side, torn open by the impact. Smoke rose from within. "Keth weapons," Ji-ho said, pointing at burn marks on the hull. "They shot it down." Tae-Wan moved toward the opening. "Then whoever is inside needs help now." They climbed through the torn hull into the ship. The interior was dark, lit only by fading emergency lights. The walls were smooth, covered in patterns that might have been writing or might have been art. Everything was elegant, refined, ancient, and everything was covered in blood. The blood was not red like human blood. It was violet, almost purple, and it glowed faintly in the darkness. There was so much of it. It covered the floor, the walls, the beautiful patterns. "Gods," one of the soldiers whispered. Tae-Wan followed the trail of blood. It led him through corridors and chambers, past bodies of Velanthi crew members. They were tall, slender, with skin like polished silver and eyes like deep pools. They were all dead, cut down by Keth boarding parties from the look of their wounds. The blood trail ended in a small room at the heart of the ship, and there, lying against the wall, was the last survivor. She was Velanthi, like the others. But even Tae-Wan, who knew nothing of their kind, could see that she was different. She wore robes of white and gold. Jewels hung from her pointed ears. A crown of silver sat crooked on her head. Her silver skin was pale, almost gray. Her violet blood pooled beneath her. She was dying. Taewon knelt beside her and opened his medical bag. His hands moved automatically, years of training taking over. He assessed her wounds. There were many. A blade had cut deep into her side. Burns covered her arms. She had lost too much blood. "Sergeant," Jiho said from the doorway. "We need to go. The Keth might come back." "Then go," Taewon said. "I'm not leaving her. She's Valanthe. They don't care about us." Taewon looked up at his friend. "She's dying, Jiho. That's all that matters." He turned back to the woman. Her eyes opened slowly. They were the color of deep space, black with points of light like stars. She looked at him, and he saw fear in her eyes. Fear and something else. Confusion. She spoke. Her language was musical, flowing, nothing like human speech. Taewon did not understand a word, but he understood the tone. She was asking who he was. She was asking what he wanted. "I'm here to help," he said softly. "I'm going to save you." She stared at him. Then slowly, she shook her head. She spoke again, and this time she pointed at herself, at her wounds. She was trying to tell him something. That it was too late. That she could not be saved. That he should leave. Taewon shook his head. "No, I don't accept that." He worked through the night. He sealed her wounds. He gave her human medicine, hoping it would not poison her. He did everything he knew how to do. But it was not enough. Her body was failing. She had lost too much blood. Human blood substitutes would not work with her alien physiology. She needed real blood. Living blood. Taewon looked at his own arm. He thought about compatibility. He thought about risk. He thought about everything that could go wrong. Then he took out a needle, slid it into his vein, and began to give her his blood. The woman's eyes went wide. She tried to speak, tried to stop him. Her hand gripped his arm with surprising strength. But Taewon did not stop. He did not know what he was doing. He did not know what it meant. He only knew that she was dying, and he could not let that happen. The blood flowed from his body into hers, and something ancient awoke. The blood moved from Taewon's arm into the Valanthe woman's body through a thin tube. He watched it flow, red mixing with violet. He felt dizzy, weak. He had already given more than he should, but her color was returning. The terrible gray was fading from her silver skin. Her breathing grew stronger. Her wounds, impossibly, were beginning to close. Taewon felt something strange. It started as a warmth in his chest, then spread through his whole body. His vision blurred. For a moment he felt like he was falling. Then he felt her, not with his hands, not with his eyes. He felt her inside his mind, her fear, her confusion, her pain. He felt her heartbeat like it was his own. He felt her thoughts brushing against his like wind against skin. He pulled the needle from his arm and stumbled backward. "What?" The woman sat up. She should not have been able to move. Minutes ago, she had been dying. Now she looked at him with those star-filled eyes, and there was horror on her face. She spoke rapidly in her language. Her voice was musical but sharp, filled with alarm. She pointed at him, then at herself, then at the blood on the floor. "I don't understand," Taewon said. His head was spinning. He could still feel her emotions. They were not his emotions, but they were inside him. "I don't know your language." She closed her eyes. When she opened them, she spoke again. And this time, he understood. "What have you done?" The words appeared in his mind. Not sounds, but meaning, direct understanding. "I saved your life," Taewon said. "You were dying. I gave you my blood." "Your blood?" She stood, and even wounded, even confused, she was tall and terrible and beautiful. "Do you know what you have done?" Do you understand what blood means to my people? Taewan shook his head. She stepped toward him. Among the Valanthi, blood is sacred. It carries the soul. To give blood willingly, freely, to another, this is the rite of binding. It is our most hallowed bond. It has not been performed with an outsider for 3,000 years. The words hit Taewan like physical blows. A bond? What kind of bond? A bond of souls. Her voice was cold. You and I are now joined. I can feel you in my mind. You can feel me in yours. This bond cannot be broken by distance or time. It cannot be broken by death. She paused. It cannot be broken at all. Taewan's legs felt weak. He sat down on the floor among the blood and debris. I didn't know. I just wanted to help you. I just wanted to save your life. Then you should have let me die. The words were harsh, but Taewan felt her emotions through the bond. She was not angry. She was afraid. She was more afraid than she had been when she was dying. Why? He asked. Why is this so terrible? She looked away. Because of who I am. She told him. Her name was Yuna. She was not just any Valanthi. She was Princess Yuna of House Sarath, heir to the throne of the Valanthi Dominion. Her ship had been on a diplomatic mission when the Keth attacked. Her guards had died protecting her. She had nearly died herself, and now she was bonded to a human. You do not understand what this means, she said. Among my people, the bonded are equals, partners, kin. I cannot marry another while this bond exists. I cannot take my throne without you beside me. Her hands closed into fists. You have either saved my life or destroyed it. I cannot yet tell which. I'll fix it, Taewan said. There must be a way to break the bond. Some ceremony, some medicine. Yuna laughed. It was not a happy sound. That is why it is called hallowed, because it is eternal, unbreakable, permanent. She looked at him with those ancient eyes. We are bound, human. Forever. Jiho's voice came through Taewan's communicator. Sergeant, we need to leave. Now. Keth patrol ships are entering the system. Taewan stood. His mind was chaos. He had only wanted to save a dying woman. He had not wanted to bind himself to alien royalty for all eternity, but it was done, and he could not undo it. Can you walk? He asked Yuna. She raised her chin. I am Valanthi. I can walk. They moved through the crashed ship and out onto the gray moon. The shuttle waited, engines running. Jiho and the others stood at the ramp, weapons ready. Jiho's eyes went wide when he saw Yuna. She's alive? How? Later, Taewan said. We need to go. They boarded the shuttle. Yuna sat apart from the humans, her back straight, her face like stone, but Taewan could feel her emotions through the bond. Shame, fear, a deep, terrible loneliness. He felt something else, too. Beneath all the fear and anger, he felt gratitude. She had not wanted to die. She had wanted to live, and he had given her life. The shuttle lifted off and flew toward the Steadfast. Below them, the moon grew small. The crashed ship disappeared into shadow. Sergeant, Jiho said quietly. What happened in there? Taewan looked at his friend. He did not know how to explain. He did not know how to tell Jiho that he had bound himself to an alien princess through a sacred rite he had never heard of. He did not know how to explain that he could feel her in his mind, that some part of him was now connected to some part of her in a way that could never be undone. I saved her life, Taewan said. That's all. But Jiho looked at him with doubt in his eyes. Is it? The shuttle docked with the Steadfast. Captain Choi was waiting. Her eyes moved from Taewan to Yuna, taking in the blood, the wounds, the tension. Report, she said. We found one survivor, Taewan said. The rest of the crew was killed by Keth raiders. She needs further medical attention. Who is she? Yuna stepped forward. She had drawn herself up to her full height, and she looked every inch a princess despite her torn robes and dried blood. "I am Yuna of House Serath, heir to the throne of the Velanthi dominion." She paused. "And this human has bound himself to me through the right of blood. I am afraid, Captain, that you have become involved in something far greater than a simple rescue." Captain Choi looked at Tae-Wan. Tae-Wan looked at the floor. The captain sighed. "Sergeant Park, my office. Now." She looked at Yuna. "Your Highness, the medical bay is this way. We will do what we can for your injuries." Yuna nodded, but before she left, she looked at Tae-Wan. Through the bond, he felt her emotions shift. The fear was still there. The anger was still there. But there was something new, something small and fragile. Hope. She did not know why she felt it. She did not want to feel it. But it was there. Tae-Wan watched her go. He did not know what the future held. He did not know what the Velanthi would do when they learned their princess had been bonded to a human. He did not know what this bond would mean for either of them. But he had saved her life. Whatever came next, at least there was that. He followed Captain Choi to her office, ready to explain the inexplicable. Yuna woke in an unfamiliar room. The walls were metal, rough and cold. The air smelled of recycled oxygen and machine oil. For a moment, she did not know where she was. Then the memories came rushing back. The attack, her ship falling, the blood, the human, the bond. She sat up in the narrow bed. Her wounds had healed, far faster than they should have. The human blood in her veins had mixed with her own in ways she did not fully understand. She felt strong, she felt alive, and she felt him. He was somewhere on this ship. She did not know where, but she could feel him like a second heartbeat in her chest. His emotions were a constant presence in the back of her mind. Right now, he felt worried. Tired. Sad. She had not asked for this connection. She had not wanted it. But it was there, as real as her own thoughts. A knock came at the door. Yuna straightened her robes. They had given her clean clothes, simple human garments that felt strange against her skin, and said, "Enter." The door opened. The human stood there. Tae-Wan. His name rose in her mind without her calling for it. The bond supplied it, along with a dozen small details. His age, his fears, the weight he carried. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "I am well." She kept her voice cold. "Your blood has healed me." He nodded. He stood in the doorway, uncertain. She could feel his emotions through the bond. Guilt, confusion, a desperate need to make things right. He was not a bad man. She knew this. She could feel the shape of his soul. But that did not make this situation acceptable. "We need to talk," he said. "Yes, we do." He entered the room and closed the door. He did not sit. He stood before her like a soldier awaiting judgment. "I want you to know that I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know about the right. I just saw you dying and I couldn't let that happen." "Why?" Yuna asked. "Why risk yourself for a stranger? Why give your blood to someone you had never met?" He was quiet for a moment. Through the bond, she felt him searching for words. "Because I'm a medic. I save people. That's what I do." "You save humans." "I save people," he repeated. "I don't care what species they are." She studied him. He was small compared to a Velanthi. His skin was brown and smooth, where hers was silver and faintly luminous. His eyes were dark and simple, where hers held stars. He was young, his species was young, and he carried himself with the heavy weariness of someone who had seen too much death. "Among my people," Yuna said, "the rite of binding is the most sacred bond that exists. It is performed between those who wish to join their souls forever. Warriors bond with warriors. Lovers bond with lovers. It is a choice made with full knowledge of its weight. She paused. You made this choice in ignorance. You bound us without understanding what you were doing. I know. His guilt was heavy in the bond. I'm sorry. Sorry does not undo what has been done. I know that too. He looked at her directly. So what do we do now? Yuna stood. She walked to the small window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was her home, her people, her throne. Everything she had been raised to protect and serve. When my people learn of this bond, they will be furious, she said. Humans are considered primitive, violent, unworthy of Valanthy attention, let alone Valanthy sacred rites. She turned to face him. There will be those who call for your death. There will be those who call for my exile. This bond may have destroyed my claim to the throne. She felt his shock through the bond. I never wanted. I know what you wanted. Her voice was sharp. You wanted to save a life. It is not a terrible motivation. She struggled with the words. They felt strange. But intention does not change consequence. We are bound now. My future is tied to yours. Then I'll do whatever it takes to make this right, he said. I'll go before your council. I'll explain what happened. I'll accept whatever judgment they give. Yuna laughed. It surprised her. You would go before the Valanthy High Council? You would stand before beings who have lived for thousands of years and explain that you accidentally performed our most sacred rite? Yes. There was no hesitation in him. She could feel it through the bond. No fear of death. No concern for himself. Only a determination to fix what he had broken. If that's what it takes. She stared at him. In 300 years of life, she had never met anyone like this. Valanthy were careful, calculated. They thought in centuries, planned in millennia. This human thought in moments. He acted on instinct. He made decisions in heartbeats that Valanthy would debate for years. It was foolish. It was dangerous. It was also, she realized, somewhat admirable. You are strange, she said. I've been told that before. I do not mean it as an insult. She sat down again, and for the first time, some of the coldness left her voice. I have lived for 300 years. I have studied other species. I thought I understood humans. I thought you were simple, crude, driven only by basic instincts. Maybe some of us are, Taewon said, but not you. He shook his head slowly. I don't think I'm anything special. I just try to help where I can. Through the bond, she felt the truth of it. He genuinely believed he was ordinary. He had no idea how rare his kind of compassion was, not just among humans, but among all species. The galaxy was vast and cold. Most beings looked out for themselves. They did not risk their lives for strangers. They did not give their blood to dying aliens. But he had. The bond cannot be broken, Yuna said. I told you this. It is permanent. But that does not mean... She hesitated. It does not mean we must be enemies. He looked at her with surprise. You saved my life, she continued. You did it without thought of reward, without thought of consequence. Among my people, such actions are rare. They are valued. She took a breath. I am angry about this bond. I am afraid of what it will mean for my future. But I am not angry at you. Not truly. I can feel your heart through the bond. You meant no harm. I didn't, he said quietly. Then we will face what comes together. She stood and extended her hand, a human gesture she had learned from her studies. We are bound, Taewon Park. We cannot change that. So let us make the best of what we have. He looked at her hand. Then he reached out and took it. His skin was warm against hers. Through the bond, she felt his relief, his gratitude, his determination. She felt something else, too. A connection, small and new and fragile. Perhaps, she thought, This did not have to be a disaster. Perhaps something could be built from this strange accident. She did not know what. She did not know how. But she was Valanthe. She thought in centuries. She had time to figure it out. "The Dominion will send ships when they receive my distress signal," she said. "They will take me home. And they will take you with me. To stand judgment? To be seen." She looked at him with those star-filled eyes. "They will judge you by what they see, so show them something worth seeing." He nodded. "I'll try." "Trying is not enough," Una said. "Among the Valanthe, you must succeed." She saw the challenge register in his eyes, felt his determination harden through the bond. "Then I'll succeed," he said. Una almost smiled. "Good." The Valanthe ships arrived 3 days later. They came out of faster-than-light travel like silver ghosts, appearing where there had been nothing but empty space. There were 3 of them, each one larger than any human vessel Taiwan had ever seen. Their hulls shimmered with colors that human eyes could barely process. They moved with a grace that made the Steadfast look like a clumsy child. Captain Choi stood on the bridge, watching the ships approach. "Well," she said dryly, "I suppose we've got their attention." A communication came through. The face that appeared on the screen was Valanthe. Silver skin, star-filled eyes, an expression of absolute authority. "Human vessel, you carry Princess Una of House Serath. You will transfer her to our custody immediately." "She's welcome to go whenever she wishes," Captain Choi said. "She's been our guest, not our prisoner. She is not the only one we require." The Valanthe's eyes were cold. "The human who performed the rite with her. He will come as well." Captain Choi glanced at Taiwan. "Sergeant?" Taiwan stepped forward. "I'll go." "You don't have to," Choi said quietly. "We can fight." 3 Valanthe warships against 1 old human cruiser? Taiwan shook his head. "No, this is my responsibility. I'll face it." Jiho grabbed his arm. "They'll kill you." "Maybe." Taiwan looked at his friend. "But I did this. I have to answer for it." He walked to the shuttle bay where Una was waiting. She wore Valanthe robes again. They had been sent from one of the ships. She looked like a princess once more, regal, distant, but through the bond he could feel her fear. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No," he said honestly, "but let's go anyway." They boarded a Valanthe shuttle that had docked with the Steadfast. The interior was beautiful, all smooth curves and soft light, but the 2 guards who waited inside looked at Taiwan like he was an insect. They did not speak to him. They did not acknowledge him at all. The shuttle flew to the largest Valanthe ship. As they entered the hangar bay, Taiwan saw hundreds of Valanthe watching. Their faces were unreadable. Their eyes followed him with cold interest. "Stay close to me," Una murmured. "Do not speak unless spoken to, and whatever happens, do not show fear." "I'll try. Succeed." They walked through corridors of light and crystal. Everything was beautiful. Everything was ancient. Taiwan felt like a primitive creature wandering through a temple built by gods. Finally, they entered a vast chamber. At the far end, on elevated platforms, sat the High Council of the Valanthe Dominion. There were 7 of them, each one older than the others. The eldest was a female with skin like tarnished silver and eyes that held no stars at all, just endless darkness. Her name, Taiwan somehow knew, was Elder Su Min. Una knelt. After a moment, Taiwan knelt beside her. "Rise, princess," Elder Su Min said. Her voice was like wind through dead leaves. "And bring your companion before us." They stood and approached the council. Taiwan felt 7 pairs of ancient eyes studying him, judging him, finding him wanting. "This is the human," one of the counselors said. His name was Elder Dong Wook, and his voice dripped with contempt. "This is the creature that defiled our most sacred rite." "He did not know what he was doing," Yuna said. "Ignorance is not an excuse. The rite of binding has not been performed with an outsider for 3,000 years. And now this primitive, has bound himself to the heir of House Sarath." Elder Dongwook's hands closed into fists. "He should be executed. The bond will die with him." "The bond will not die," another voice said. This one was calm, measured. An old male Valanthe with kind eyes stepped forward from the shadows. Elder Hajun, the scholar. "That is not how the rite works. If the human dies, the princess will feel it. Part of her soul will be torn away. She will be diminished forever." "Then let her be diminished," Dongwook said. "Better that than this insult to our people." "Is it an insult?" Hajun asked. "Or is it something else?" The council chamber went quiet. Hajun walked forward until he stood before Taewan. His eyes were old, but there was no cruelty in them. "Tell me, human, why did you do it? Why did you give your blood to our princess?" Taewan felt everyone watching. He felt Yuna's fear through the bond. He felt the weight of all these ancient eyes. "Because she was dying," he said, "and I could save her. You could have died yourself. The blood transfer was dangerous." "I know. You could have walked away, left her to her fate. Your people have no love for us. We have given you no reason to help us." Taewan nodded. "That's true. Then why?" Taewan thought about the question. He thought about all the people he had watched die in this war. He thought about the ones he had saved and the ones he had failed. He thought about Jiho's words. "You're too soft. It's going to get you killed." "Because I'm a healer," he said finally. "I took an oath to save lives. That oath doesn't have conditions. It doesn't say I should only save humans, or only save people who have helped me. It says I save lives. All lives. That's what I did." Hajun studied him. "And the bond? Do you understand its weight now?" "I do." "Do you accept it?" Taewan glanced at Yuna. Through the bond, he felt her heart beating fast. He felt her hope, small and fragile. "I accept it," he said. The council erupted. Dongwook shouted that the human was lying, manipulating them. Others demanded Taewan's imprisonment, his death, his torture. The noise was overwhelming, but Hajun raised his hand, and slowly the chamber fell silent. "There is an old prophecy," Hajun said, "written at the dawn of our civilization. It speaks of a time when the Dominion will face a great darkness. It speaks of salvation coming through an outsider's bond." He looked at the council. "The Keth are spreading. They have taken human worlds. Soon they will come for us. We have stayed neutral, but neutrality will not protect us forever." "You think this human is the prophecy?" Dongwook's voice was scornful. "I think the bond chose him for a reason. The rite is not just a ceremony, it is a judgment. The blood knows. If this human were unworthy, the bond would not have formed at all." Silence. The council members looked at each other. Finally, Elder Sumin spoke. "There is a way to test this. The 3 trials of Sarath. If the human passes, he will be accepted as the princess's bonded. If he fails, he will die, and we will accept the consequences." Dongwook smiled. "The trials have killed our own warriors. This human will not survive. Then the matter will be settled." Sumin looked at Taewan. "Do you accept the trials, human?" Taewan did not hesitate. "I accept." He felt Yuna's shock through the bond, her fear. She had not told him about the trials. She had not told him that they would almost certainly kill him. But he felt something else from her, too. Something she tried to hide. Pride. He had not backed down. He had not begged. He had stood before the council of an ancient civilization and accepted their judgment without flinching. Maybe, Yuna thought, humans were not as primitive as she had believed. Or maybe this one human was simply extraordinary. Either way, the trials would show the truth. "The trials will begin tomorrow," Su Min said. "Until then, the human will be held in the chamber of waiting. The princess will not be permitted to speak with him or assist him in any way." Guards stepped forward to take Tae-Wan away. He looked back at Yuna one last time. Through the bond, he sent her a feeling, not words. He did not know how to send words, but a feeling, confidence, determination. He was not afraid. And somehow, against all reason, Yuna believed him. The chamber of waiting was a small room with no windows. Tae-Wan sat in darkness and tried to prepare his mind for what was coming. He did not know what the trials would involve. He did not know if he would survive. But he had made his choice, and he would not turn back from it. Through the bond, he could feel Yuna. She was far away. The council had separated them, but her presence was still there in the back of his mind. She was afraid for him. She was trying to hide it, but she could not hide anything from the bond. He sent her what comfort he could, a feeling of calm, of acceptance, of readiness. She did not respond, but he felt her fear ease slightly. When dawn came, the guards took him to the arena of trials. It was an ancient place, a circular chamber carved from living stone. Seats rose in tiers around the edges, filled with Valanthi who had come to watch the human face judgment. At the highest tier sat the council. Yuna sat among them, her face like a mask. Elder Su Min rose. "Tae-Wan, Park of Earth, you stand here to prove yourself worthy of the hallowed bond you have formed with Princess Yuna of House Serath. You will face 3 trials: the trial of mind, the trial of body, the trial of spirit. You must pass all 3. If you fail any trial, you will die." Tae-Wan nodded. "I understand." "Then let the first trial begin." The arena floor shifted. Walls rose from the ground, forming a maze. But this was no ordinary maze. The walls shimmered with psychic energy. Tae-Wan could feel it pressing against his mind, testing him, probing for weakness. "The trial of mind," Su Min announced. "You must navigate the labyrinth of shadows. It will attack your mind. It will show you your fears. It will try to break your sanity, find the center, and you will pass." Tae-Wan stepped into the maze. The walls closed around him immediately. The psychic energy intensified, and then the visions began. He saw Ji-Ho dying. He saw Captain Choi dying. He saw every soldier he had ever served with, dying one by one while he knelt beside them, helpless. He saw his hands covered in blood. He heard their voices asking why he had not saved them, why he had failed them. The visions were not real. He knew this, but they felt real. The grief was real. The guilt was real. He had carried these memories for years. They were the reason he did not sleep at night. They were the reason he kept working, kept saving, kept trying, because every life he saved was supposed to make up for the ones he had lost. But it never worked. It was never enough. The maze twisted around him. The walls moved. He was lost, drowning in his own guilt and fear. Then he stopped. He stood in the darkness and asked himself a question. Why was he here? Not in this maze. Here, in this trial, in this place. Why had he come? Not for glory, not for survival, not even for himself. He was here because he had saved a life. He was here because he had done the right thing, the only thing. And now he had to answer for it. Not because he had done wrong, but because the universe was testing whether he was strong enough to bear the weight of his choices. The visions continued. The dead called to him. But Tae-Wan walked forward. He did not fight the visions. He did not try to escape them. He accepted them. They were part of him. They would always be part of him. But they did not define him. What defined him was what he did next. He walked through the maze. He let the visions come and let them go. He focused on the center, on the goal, on the purpose that had brought him here. And then, suddenly, the walls fell away. He stood in the center of the labyrinth, whole and sane. The crowd was silent. They had expected him to fail. They had expected to watch his mind shatter. "The first trial is past," Su Min announced, and there was surprise in her ancient voice. Taewon did not celebrate. He only turned to face what came next. The trial of body. A gate opened, and a Valanthi warrior stepped into the arena. He was tall, half again Taewon's height, and his body was covered in ritual scars. He carried a staff made of crystal that hummed with energy. "You must face our champion in combat," Su Min said. "You may use any weapon you choose." Taewon looked at the weapons that were offered to him. Swords, spears, shields. He knew how to use them all. He had trained for years. He chose a simple knife. The crowd murmured. A knife against a staff? Against a Valanthi champion? It was suicide. The champion attacked. He was fast, faster than any human could be. His staff swept toward Taewon's head with killing force. Taewon moved. He was not fast enough to match the Valanthi. He was not strong enough. But he had something the champion did not expect. He had fought against enemies like the Keth for years. He had learned to survive against opponents who were bigger, stronger, faster. He had learned that the only way to win was to refuse to lose. He dodged the staff by centimeters. He rolled under the next strike. He did not try to match the champion's power. He let the champion exhaust himself. He let the champion grow frustrated. And then he struck. The knife found a gap in the champion's defenses. It was not a killing blow. Taewon did not aim to kill, but the blade drew blood, and in the trials, blood meant victory. The champion stumbled back, shocked. He looked at the wound on his arm, then at the small human who had given it to him. "The second trial is past," Su Min announced. This time, there was more than surprise in the crowd. There was something like respect. "The final trial, the trial of spirit." The arena went quiet. The champion withdrew. Taewon stood alone in the center. "This trial has no enemy," Su Min said. "No maze, no combat. In this trial, you must offer a truth that makes you vulnerable, a truth that costs you something to speak. The elders will judge whether your truth is worthy." Taewon stood in silence. A truth. What truth could he offer? What truth did he have that would mean anything to these ancient beings? He thought about his life. He thought about the war. He thought about all the death he had seen and all the people he had tried to save. He thought about why he did it, why he kept going night after night, battle after battle, even when it seemed hopeless. And then he knew. "I am afraid," he said. The crowd stirred. The elders leaned forward. "I am afraid," Taewon repeated, "but not of death. I have seen too much death to fear it. I am afraid of being alone." He paused. "Everyone I have ever loved has died in this war. My family, my friends, the soldiers I served with. I watched them die one by one, and I could not save them." His voice was steady, but through the bond, Yuna could feel his pain. It was vast, it was deep. He had been carrying it for so long. "I saved Yuna because I could not bear to watch one more person die when I had the power to help," Taewon said. "I did not think about bonds or consequences or what it would mean. I only knew that she was dying, and I could not let that happen. Because every person I save is proof that I am not helpless. Every person I save is a victory against the loneliness that is waiting for me." He looked up at the council. "That is my truth. I do not save people because I am brave or noble. I save people because I am afraid of what I will become if I stop." Silence. The elders looked at each other. They spoke in whispers that Taewon could not hear. Then Elder Ha-jun stood. "The truth you have offered is not a truth of strength," he said. "It is not a boast or a claim of virtue. It is a truth of weakness, of fear, of need." He paused. And that is what makes it worthy. Only someone who knows their own weakness can truly grow strong. Only someone who admits their fear can truly be brave. He looked at the council. The trial of spirit is past. The arena erupted. Some Valanthi shouted in protest, others cheered. The noise was overwhelming, but Taiwan did not hear it. He was looking at Yuna. Through the bond, he felt her emotions, pride, relief, wonder, and something else, something deeper. She had felt everything he felt during the trials, his fears, his pain, his loneliness. She had felt the truth of his soul, and she had found it worthy. For the first time since this began, she smiled at him. It was small, it was brief, but it was real. And Taewon smiled back. Elder Su-min raised her hand, and the crowd fell silent. "The human has passed the 3 trials," she announced. "By the laws of our people, he is now recognized as the true bonded of Princess Yuna of House Sarath. He has proven himself worthy." She looked at Taewon, and for the first time there was no contempt in her ancient eyes. "Welcome, Taewon Park, to the Valanthi Dominion." 3 months passed. Taewon lived among the Valanthi, learning their ways, earning their trust. It was not easy. Many still looked at him with suspicion. Many still believed a human was not worthy of their princess. But he worked, he studied, he proved himself day by day. The bond with Yuna grew stronger. At first, it had been a strange intrusion. Her emotions in his mind, his emotions in hers. But slowly, it became something else. A partnership, a connection. They learned to communicate without words, to coordinate without speaking. They became 2 halves of a single whole. And they learned about each other. Yuna learned of Taewon's childhood on Earth, of his decision to become a medic, of the war that had taken everyone he loved. Taewon learned of Yuna's 300 years of life, of her training to become queen, of the weight she carried as heir to an ancient dynasty. They were very different. But they were also, in important ways, the same. Both carried burdens. Both had responsibilities they could not escape. Both were lonely in ways they had never admitted before. The bond did not make them lovers, but it made them something deeper, partners, allies, friends. Then the Keth came. The attack was sudden and overwhelming. 100 Keth warships emerged from faster-than-light travel directly over the Valanthi capital world. They had learned of the bond between Yuna and Taiwan. They had learned that the Valanthi might soon join humanity in the war, and they had decided to strike first, before that alliance could form. The Valanthi fleet scrambled to respond. They had advanced technology, powerful weapons, but they had been at peace for centuries. They had forgotten how to fight a total war. The Keth had not. The battle was brutal. Valanthi ships were destroyed by the dozen. The elegant vessels, so beautiful in peace, were torn apart in the chaos of combat. Fire rained down on the capital city. Millions fled as buildings collapsed and streets burned. Taiwan watched from the Royal Command Center as the Valanthi forces fell back again and again. They were losing. Their tactics were too careful, too slow. They fought the way they had always fought, with precision and deliberation. But the Keth did not fight that way. The Keth fought with savagery and speed and overwhelming numbers. "We need to change tactics," Taewon said. The Valanthi commanders looked at him with contempt. "You know nothing of warfare, human. You are a medic." "I'm a soldier," Taewon said. "I've been fighting the Keth for years. I know how they think. I know how they fight. And I know how to beat them." He looked at Yuna. Through the bond, he sent her his confidence, his certainty, his plan. She felt it all. She understood. "Let him speak," Yuna commanded. Taewon stepped forward to the tactical display. The Keth are aggressive. They expect their enemies to fall back, to retreat, to cede ground. They don't know how to handle an enemy that attacks into their strength. "They don't know how to handle humans," he pointed at the display. We stop retreating. We push forward into their main fleet. We use Valanthi technology for precision strikes on their command ships, and we use human tactics. Aggressive, adaptive, unpredictable. We hit them so hard they don't know what's happening. We make them react to us instead of the other way around. The commanders objected. It was too risky. It was too aggressive. It was not how Valanthi fought. But Yuna silenced them. "We are losing this war," she said. "Our way is not working. We will try his way." She looked at Taiwan. "Show us how humans fight." Taiwan took command. He was not a general. He was not trained in strategy. But he had survived years of war against the Keth. He knew what they feared. He knew what surprised them. He knew what broke them. He pushed the Valanthi forces forward in a massive assault. He targeted the Keth command ships with precision strikes. He used feints and deceptions to confuse the enemy. He adapted moment by moment, changing plans as the battle shifted. And through the bond, Yuna was with him. She coordinated the Valanthi forces, translating his tactics into their language. They moved as one mind. When he saw an opportunity, she acted on it instantly. When she sensed a danger, he adjusted without being told. The Keth faltered. For the first time in the battle, they fell back. Their formation broke. Their command ships burned. The Valanthi pressed forward. Hope spread through their ranks. They were not just surviving anymore. They were winning. Then the Keth warlord came. His ship was the largest in the fleet, a massive dreadnought covered in weapons. He had held back, watching, waiting. Now he plunged into the battle himself, targeting the Valanthi command center. Targeting Yuna. Taiwan saw the attack coming through the tactical display. The warlord's ship was cutting through the Valanthi defenses, heading straight for the planet, for the city, for her. "He's coming for you," Taiwan said. "I know." Yuna's voice was calm. Through the bond, he felt her fear and her determination. "Let him come. I won't let him touch you." He ran. The command center was deep in the city, but the Keth ground forces were already landing. Taiwan grabbed a weapon and fought through the streets. He was not alone. Valanthi soldiers fought beside him, following this human who had somehow become one of them. Together they pushed toward the warlord's landing site. The warlord was waiting. He was Keth, tall, armored in black metal, his face hidden behind a mask. He carried a blade that glowed with dark energy. Around him, his elite guards stood ready. "The human," the warlord said. His voice was like grinding stone. "The one who bonded with the princess. I will take your head as a trophy." Taiwan raised his weapon. "You can try." They fought. The warlord was stronger than anything Taiwan had ever faced, faster, more brutal. His blade cut through the air with killing force. Taiwan dodged and ducked and rolled, using every trick he had learned in years of combat, but he was outmatched. The warlord was simply better. A blow got through. The dark blade cut deep into Taiwan's side. He fell. The pain was immense. He could feel his blood flowing out, his strength fading. Through the bond, he felt Yuna's scream. The warlord stood over him. Weak. "Pathetic! This is what the Valanthi have bound themselves to? A dying human?" He raised his blade, and Taiwan moved. It was the last of his strength, the last of his will. He thrust his weapon up into the gap in the warlord's armor, into the flesh beneath. The warlord staggered. His blade fell. He looked down at the wound in his chest, then at the human who had given it to him. "Impossible," he whispered. "Humans," Taiwan said through gritted teeth, "don't know when to quit." The warlord fell. Around them, the Keth forces saw their leader die. They hesitated. They broke. They ran. The battle was over. Taiwan lay in the street, his blood pooling beneath him. Through the bond, he could feel Yuna running toward him, her fear, her desperation, her love. He felt it now, finally acknowledged, finally real. She reached him. She knelt beside him in the blood and debris, and her silver hands pressed against his wound. "Stay with me," she said. "Do you hear me? Stay with me." "I'm trying," he whispered. "Try harder." But the wound was too deep. He was dying. He knew it. She knew it. Through the bond, they both felt it. He was dying. Yuna carried Tae-wan through the burning streets of the capital. Around her, the battle was ending. The Keth were retreating into space, their forces broken, their warlord dead. The Valanthi had won. But Yuna did not care about victory. She cared only about the man in her arms. Taiwan's breath was shallow. His skin was pale. Through the bond, she could feel his life fading. He was dying, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. She brought him to the Elder Council chambers. The ancient building still stood, though fire burned all around it. The elders had gathered there during the battle, protected by the strongest shields the Valanthi possessed. "Help him," Yuna demanded. "Save him." Elder Ha-Jun stepped forward. His old face was full of sorrow. "Your Highness, his wounds are too severe. Human physiology is different from ours. Our healing techniques will not work on him." "Then find something that will work." "There is nothing." Ha-Jun's voice was gentle. "I am sorry." Yuna looked down at Taiwan. His eyes were closed. His breath was fading. Through the bond, she could feel him slipping away like sand running through her fingers. "No," she whispered. "I will not accept this." She thought of everything they had been through. The crash, the bonding, the trials, the war. She thought of everything he had done, how he had saved her life without knowing what it would cost him, how he had faced the council without fear, how he had passed the trials through sheer will, how he had led their forces to victory against the Keth. She thought of what she felt for him. It had grown slowly, day by day, through the bond. At first, she had resented him. Then she had respected him. Then she had admired him. And then, without knowing when it happened, she had come to love him. She could not lose him. Not now. Not after everything. "The blood," she said suddenly. Ha-Jun looked at her. "Your Highness, he gave me his blood to save my life. The bond formed because of the willing gift of blood." She looked up at the elder. "What if I give him mine?" Ha-Jun's eyes went wide. "That has never been done. The rite has never been completed in both directions. We do not know what would happen. But it might save him. It might. Or it might kill you both." Yuna looked at Tae-wan. She felt his heartbeat through the bond. It was weak, fading. "The bond is hallowed," she said. "It cannot be broken, but it can be completed." She did not wait for permission. She did not ask for approval. She took a blade from a nearby guard and cut her own wrist. Violet blood flowed out, glowing faintly in the dim light. "Your Highness!" Ha-Jun stepped forward. "You do not know what this will do." "I know what doing nothing will do," Yuna said. "It will let him die." She pressed her wrist to Tae-wan's wound. Her blood flowed into his body, mixing with his as his had once mixed with hers. She closed her eyes and pushed through the bond, sending him everything she had, her strength, her will, her life. The bond blazed. Tae-wan had felt the bond before as a connection, a link, a bridge between two minds. But this was different. This was a merging. He felt Yuna's blood in his veins like fire. He felt her soul wrapping around his own. He felt their two hearts beating as one. He opened his eyes. Yuna knelt over him, her face pale from blood loss, but she was smiling. "Welcome back," she said. Tae-wan looked at his wound. It was closing, healing. His body was changing, his human flesh responding to the Valanthi blood in ways that should not have been possible. He felt stronger than before, more alive, different. He looked at his hands. They were still human. But there was something new in them. Something Valanthi. "What did you do?" he whispered. "I completed the bond," Yuna said. "I gave you what you gave me." Hajun knelt beside them, his ancient face full of wonder. "Remarkable. The bond has been completed. Both directions. It has never been done before." He looked at Tae-wan. "You are still human, but you have been touched by Valanthi grace. You will live longer than any human. You will heal faster. You will feel the universe as we feel it." "Will the bond be stronger?" Tae-wan asked. "Yes, you and the princess are now joined completely. 2 souls in 2 bodies. You will never be alone again." Tae-wan looked at Yuna. Through the bond, through this new, deeper bond, he felt everything she felt. Her relief, her joy, her love. He reached up and touched her face. "Thank you," he said. "You saved me first," she replied. "I only returned the favor." They helped each other stand. Around them, the elders watched in silence. Even Elder Dong-wook, who had wanted Tae-wan dead, said nothing. The bond had been completed. The rite was finished. There was nothing more to argue. They walked out of the council chambers into the street. The fires were being controlled. The wounded were being tended. The dead were being mourned. But the city was still standing. The Dominion was still standing. The Keth had been defeated. And the Valanthi were no longer alone. In the days that followed, everything changed. The Valanthi and humanity signed a formal alliance. Technology was shared. Fleets were combined. For the first time, the Keth faced a unified enemy. The war was not over. There would be more battles, more losses, more sacrifice. But there was hope now. Real hope. And at the center of it all stood Tae-wan and Yuna. They stood before the council 1 month after the battle. Yuna had been formally restored as heir to the throne, with Tae-wan at her side as her bonded partner. Together, they would lead the Dominion into a new age. "You have changed everything," Elder Hajun told them. "The prophecy spoke of an outsider's bond bringing salvation. I did not believe it when I first saw you, Tae-wan, but I believe it now." "I didn't do anything special," Tae-wan said. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Hajun shook his head. "That is not true. Not anyone would have given their blood for a dying stranger. Not anyone would have faced our trials. Not anyone would have fought the Keth warlord to protect the one they loved." He smiled. "You are special, Tae-wan Park. Humanity is special. We were wrong to dismiss your people. We will not make that mistake again." That night, Tae-wan stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The damage from the battle was still visible, but repairs were underway. The city would heal. The people would heal. Yuna came to stand beside him. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I'm thinking about Jiho, about Captain Choi, about everyone I left behind." He looked at her. "I need to see them. I need to tell them what's happening." "Then we will go to them," Yuna said. "The Dominion and humanity are allies now. It is time we started acting like it." Tae-wan smiled. "You know, when I gave you my blood on that crashed ship, I thought I was just saving one life. And instead? Instead, I might have helped save everyone." Yuna took his hand. Her silver fingers intertwined with his brown ones. "The bond can never be broken," she said. "That is what makes it hallowed. But it is more than a bond between 2 people now. It is a bond between 2 peoples. A bond that will last forever." Tae-wan squeezed her hand. "Forever sounds good to me." They stood together on the balcony, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Keth were licking their wounds. Somewhere out there, humanity was fighting for survival. Somewhere out there, 100 worlds were waiting to see what would happen next. But here, in this moment, there was peace. A human and a Valanthi. 2 souls, 1 bond, hallowed and unbreakable. Forever. The end.